So towards the latter part, we came to the marketing research process or market research process. When I say or, you know that market research and marketing research has slightly different definitions. When we talked about that last week. So what we need to do now quickly is to sort of finish that part about market research. And then today we will spend time on trying to understand the strategic management process, which is essentially, it's the same process that we are applying to strategic marketing, right? But in a more marketing orientation, right? So the things that we teach at strategic management class, some of it is the same because they are the fundamentals. But the difference is we're trying to sort of understand them from a very marketing point of view, right? So that's what we're going to do mainly today. But let's finish what we started last week. So we came to market research, and we said that we have different types of market research, the way in which we actually gather data and how we do the analysis. We said if we're doing it by ourselves and gathering first-hand information through surveys and focus groups and interviews, then we call it primary market research. If we're looking at data and information that has been gathered by somebody else through their own research at whatever level, then we call it secondary research. So if you go to your country's statistics and census department or population census department or whatever department that gathers information about your country in terms of economy, in terms of population, in terms of health, in terms of education, all kinds of criteria, you'll have a sort of a census department. There you will find a lot of data that have been gathered by that department, right? Population information, statistics, demographics, age, education levels, income levels, whatever. So if you're using that data, then if you're accessing that data, then that is secondary research. And if you are if you're reading research papers or research reports done by other agencies, industry organizations, various research organizations which have been published and available, then again that is secondary research. Basically, we do a lot of research online now, and in your assignment, one of the risks that because in your assignment there's a part where you have to talk about the risks affiliated with the marketing plan and the implementation of that marketing plan. So there are, we'll talk about risks tomorrow, but one of the risks we can talk right now is involves in terms of the market research process, right? Both primary and secondary types of research have their own risks. For example, if you take secondary research, we might not be getting first-hand information, up-to-date information, and that information not be true. So there are various implications of using secondary data. So a possible mitigation of that risk is that you combine both primary and secondary research techniques and try to sort of verify the secondary research findings that you're using, right? So and both these type of research can be either qualitative or quantitative. a good, okay, here's a good table where we can sort of understand the difference. The purpose of qualitative research is to basically, dig up things of quality, right? Like, what is the motivation of people buying a certain product, uh, or what kind of reasons, what kind of attitudes, what kind of values drive those people to make such choices, right? What are their opinions about a brand? What are their opinions about certain industry leaders or whatever? Their perceptions, and what kind of behavior do they demonstrate? So these are not quantifiable things. You can't sort of count these things. These are very, they describe a quality, a feature of something, right? So that's the purpose of qualitative research. For example, you might discover that people are buying a certain beverage, right? Because they think that drinking that beverage is a very masculine thing. So men who like to sort of be seen in the society as very masculine and very sort of manly, they will hold that beverage in their hand, right? So those are qualitative things, right? And then quantitative research purpose is to determine the representativeness of the sample to the population. How similar is the sample to the population? So we'll talk about how to sort of, obviously we can't, for example, we might want to see how many men feel that way. How many men actually buy that particular beverage, and how many men actually buy it because of that reason, right? So that's a quantity. Now, obviously, you can't check the entire man population or population of men. So therefore, you will have to depend on a sample. You pick a sample from that population, and you make an estimate, right? And then sort of apply that to the entire population. So that is an assumption. That is based on some assumptions. In terms of anyway, most of this research involves some kind of sampling. So qualitative involves small number of respondents, whereas quantitative, it tends to be a large number of respondents, because in qualitative you have to talk to them, you have to interview them, you have to listen to them. That takes time and a lot of resources and energy. So the number of interviews that you will have will be less, but the number of people that you might run a survey, an online survey or something, that will be bigger than a qualitative research sample. The type of information, qualitative provides very detailed information. Somebody will explain something in detail, whereas quantitative, it's very narrowly defined information. Usually, for example, if you do an online survey or any survey for that matter, or most of the surveys, unless it is open-ended questions, most of the questions that you ask, you will give the answers also. So so the respondent will be selecting answers. If you're asking them to rank something, you will give a rank from 1 to 10, 1 to 5, or very bad, bad, moderate, good, very good, or something like that. So you will give them the answers, and that's why it's called narrowly defined. Degree of structuring, qualitative uses an unstructured approach. typically with open questions, use a structured questioning process and frequently closed multiple fixed. That's what I just explained for quantitative research. In qualitative research, you will, when you are having an interview or a focus group or with some people, you will have some questions planned. You will have a questionnaire with you, but you will not be limited to those questions. You will ask probing questions. If a respondent gives an answer, you might want to learn more about it. So you might ask them, can you explain a bit more? Why are you thinking like that? What make you do that? So you'll be sort of exploring that. And you might ask questions which you haven't planned or thought about, the questions that arise at that interview process. So it's sort of, you need to sort of keep qualitative research somewhat unstructured, right? And that happens in secondary research as well, because usually before you go into primary research, you start with secondary research. You sit in front of a computer, and the first thing you would do is you would go to the internet, and you will just do a Google search, right? You do a Google search using the keywords, and you will try to see what kind of information is available, just to get a basic frame of what you're trying to research about. You will, start from places like Wikipedia. Of course, you're not going to be dependent on it, but it will give some framework for you to think about. What are the areas that you will have to think about? And then you will slowly move into more advanced, more credible sources, right? You will move into published market reports and research papers. You will read, esteemed industry organizations and agencies like the Harvard Business Review or the Boston Consultancy Group, or universities like Oxford and and so on. So and then you have collection of journals and published research libraries. And then you will move to, you might even move to actual like scholarly articles and books, and that's the that's a sort of progression, right? And what I'm trying to say is that you can see that is unstructured, right? You are exploring everything in the beginning, right? You want to learn as much as possible about everything, and your mind is open, that it's not narrow, right? Once you have a fairly good understanding about what you're trying to sort of understand here, at least the framework, then you can sort of design quantitative research. It's not possible to design a quantitative research without having some kind of qualitative framework done first. Type of data analysis uses non-statistical words, so it's words, right? Very content-based analysis using in vivo qualitative. So there are various software that market researchers use, statistical tools and other tools, like to sort of mine data and to do even qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. But that's beyond the purpose of this course. You don't need to sort of be experts on those software. You as an MBA, you as a marketing professional, you as a CEO of an organization, what you need to do is you need to know how it is done, but not exactly, you're not actually going to do it. So you're not going to use these tools, but you know that these tools need to be used and can be used depending on the requirement. Right? Sampling approach uses non-probability sampling, and quantitative research uses probability sampling. Let's look at sampling in a bit. Last week we talked about this. We said that the approach to research design can be exploratory, descriptive, or causal. We went through this slide last week. I moved the slides a bit. That's why you're seeing them here. We talked about this and this.